Let's say we have been given an integer n, and what we want to do is we want to generate all structurally different, okay, all structurally different binary trees. We all know what a binary tree is. And when I say structurally different, what I mean is, if let's say there are 3 nodes, then you can have a binary tree that looks like this, and you can also have a binary tree that looks like this. Clearly this and this have different structure, okay? Similarly, there can be another one which looks like this, and then there can be again another one which looks like this. So given a value of n, there can be different structurally different binary trees. Now, do not think that, hey, when I populate the values in these nodes as maybe 1, 2, and 3, and when I populate 0, 1, 2, then this should also be regarded different from this. No, because the values present in their nodes are different, but structurally wise, they are exactly the same. So what you have to assume is that all the binary trees contain zeros in their nodes. So if you assume that, then you will never run into such kind of confusion. So then you will realize that, okay, because 0 values are only allowed, then this and this both are exactly the same. So given a value of n, generate all the structurally different binary trees. That is the first question that we are trying to solve. Is the question making sense? Just type in yes or no if that does. Okay, few examples. Can you tell me how many different structures are there for n equals to 2? Only 2 of them, right? So first possibility is this, and second possibility is this. Okay. How about for n equals to 1? For n equals to 1, again, there is only one possibility, a tree having only one node. For n equals to 3, how many possibilities are there? Can somebody figure that out? I have already created 4 of them for you. I want you to guess if there is something else. Okay, one of you feel it will be 5, others. So 4 of them are already mentioned. Yeah, so those of you who are saying 5, you are all right, because the final possibility is this. And you can see that all of them have different structures. Okay, cool. Similarly, you will have some answer for n equals to 4 and so on and on and on. Now, answer me one thing. If such a kind of question is asked to you, then you're supposed to create multiple trees. And what is the identifier of any tree? What is the representative of any tree? Like in linked list, the representative is head. In tree, the representative is root. Okay. So if your n was equals to 3, you must have created these different trees with different roots. So let's say the root of this is R1, this is R2, this is R3, this is R4, this is R5. Then you got to return me a list or vector which contains R1, R2 till R5. And what should be the type of this list? Because it is containing the nodes, the type of this list should be list of node star or vector of node star if you're using C++. So your input will be an integer which denotes this, and then you're supposed to write a function that returns this. Is it clear that what is the expected return type of my function? Okay, so how can I start thinking from here? Let us talk about that. Yesterday, I had mentioned a very basic thing, and those of you who actually applied those things while solving some questions, while watching some videos, you would have realized that the same idea can be used to solve this question, which is looking complex from upside, but it is not really complex. So if you take a look at any tree, it can simply be broken down into 3 parts. There is a root, and then there is a left subtree, and then there is a right subtree. Okay. Now think of it in this manner. Although I have already listed all the trees corresponding to n equals to 3, but now let us use our brain to create them. So let's say n is equals to 3, and I want to create all the trees. So it is guaranteed that any tree which you create for n equals to 3 will definitely have a node going as root, correct? So there will be a root, and then there will be some nodes. Let's say there will be x nodes in left subtree and then remaining number of nodes will be there in the right subtree. So answer me one simple question. If the total number of nodes allowed is n, and you have already sacrificed one node for root, and then you are placing x nodes in your left subtree, then how many nodes would go to your right subtree? Can somebody tell me this? Yeah, n minus 1 minus x is right. It's just a common sense. So one node is gone here, x nodes have gone here, so x plus 1 nodes have gone away. So how many nodes remain? N minus x plus 1, which will be n minus x minus 1. So n minus x minus 1 nodes will come over here. Okay, now answer me one very basic thing. If n nodes are allowed, okay, and you have sacrificed one node over here, and then you are trying to put x nodes over here, then x can have different values. Okay, so like if you take a look over here, you have sacrificed one node over here. Now in your left subtree, in this case you have put one node, in this case you have put two nodes, in this case you have put zero node, in this case also you have put zero node. So my question to you is, what are the different values of x? What can be the different possible values of x? If total number of nodes allowed is n and one node has already gone as root, yeah, it will be in between 0 to n minus 1, right? So your x will vary from 0 to n minus 1. It's very simple, right? Because once you have put one node as the root, then the remaining number of nodes is n minus 1. So either you can place none of them in left subtree, or you can place all of them, or you can place something in between none and all. And then whatever remains will automatically go to the right subtree. So now you will realize that if you are putting 0 nodes in left, then there will be n minus 1 nodes in right. And if you are putting one node in left, then there will be n minus 2 nodes in right. If you are putting two nodes in left, then there will be n minus 3 nodes in right. Similarly, if you are putting n minus 1 nodes in left, there will be 0 nodes in right. Is this table clear to everyone? Yes or no? Okay, now do you realize one thing, that based on this table, I can perform categorization of trees. Okay, and recursion is all about categorization. If you have really studied your subsets of set and things very well, there I have extensively talked that there are different categories and you make recursive calls to create those categories. Anyways, so now let us come back to n equals to 3. So when you come back to n equals to 3, one node is going to act as your root, and then the possibilities of count of nodes in left and right will be something like this. So if you are placing 0, if you are placing 0 nodes in the left, you will have 2 nodes in the right. If you are placing one node in the left, you will have one node in the right. And if you are placing 2 nodes in the left, you will have 0 nodes in the right. Can I say these are the only 3 categories that are possible? So let me call it category 1, and let me call it category 2, and let me call it category 3. Now let us focus on category 1, where I am saying that, hey, there will be a root, and the number of nodes in left will be 0, and number of nodes in right will be 2. So if number of nodes in left will be 0, I am not going to get anything over here. And if the number of nodes in right will be 2, now let us understand how many possibilities are there for n equals to 2. There are 2 possibilities. So either I can attach this thing as my right subtree, or I can attach this thing as my right subtree. So do you see that all these trees are having 3 nodes, but they belong to this category, where left subtree is of size 0 and right subtree is of size 2. Do you realize it? Just type in yes or no. So can I say that if I know all the trees, all the structurally different trees for n equals to 2, then using them, I can create a specific category for n equals to 3. Can I say so? The answer is yes, right? That is what you have done. Okay, let's talk about next category, in which left subtree has one node and right subtree also has one node. So how many possibilities will be there corresponding to this category? There will be only one possibility, and that you can easily see over here, because for n equals to 1, there is only one possibility, right? So let's say first you have a root, And now you're saying that you want to have one node in your left subtree. So there is only one possibility, and one node in your right subtree. So there is only one possibility again. Okay, if your question was n, if your n was 0, then you could have again returned 0 from here. Sorry, not 0 from here. In fact, look, for n equals to 1, there is one possibility. For n equals to 2, there are two possibilities. For n equals to 0, you can say there is an empty tree, right? For n equals to 0, there is an empty tree. So maybe let me denote empty by this. An empty tree is also a tree only, right? So when somebody says if n equals to 0, what should be your answer? You should say 1. Why? Because empty tree is also a tree. So these are some terminal cases which we will have to keep in our head. Does that make sense to everyone? Why should we be returning 1 as answer for n equals to 0, right? So if your input is n equals to 0, you should return a vector that contains null, because null represents an empty tree, right? Okay, cool. Let us move on to the final category, where left subtree has 2 nodes and right subtree has 0 nodes. How many possibilities for this final category? 2 possibilities again, and can you detect them here? I can literally say this falls under this category, and this also falls under this category. And creating that by using your brain is also easy. So first you have a root node, and then you want to have 0 nodes in right. There is only one possibility, so you're not attaching anything. And you want to have 2 nodes in your left. Now for 2 nodes, these are the 2 possibilities. So if I attach this, I'll get it. And on the other hand, if I attach it, I'll get this. So these are all my 5 possibilities. So this was my category number 1, category number 2, category number 3. Clear to everyone? Now my final question to you is, can it ever happen that anything in one category is also present in another category? Depending on how I'm doing categorization, is duplication possible over here? The answer is no, that will never ever be possible, because when you look at the different categories, the number of nodes in the left subtree itself is different. So it can never happen that a tree which has got 1 node in left is also same as a tree which has got 2 nodes in left, right? So I can say all these categories are going to be different from one another. Make sense to everyone? Now, because they are going to be different from one another, if I get the count of this category and call that C1, the count of this category call as C2, here C3, then my overall answer will be C1 plus C2 plus C3. Okay, is that making sense to everyone here? Yes or no? Right? Okay. Now answer me one thing, how to figure out how many trees will be there for n equals to 3. So think of it in this manner. So let's say you are talking about any specific category where you chose to have I nodes in left and n minus I minus 1 nodes in right. Okay, do you realize that all the values appearing over here are smaller than n? All these are smaller than n, right? Now, if I know how many structurally different trees are there for I, let's say that is count of I, and I also know how many structurally different trees are there for this, let's say that is count of n minus I minus 1, then how many possibilities will be there in this category? If I say that as C of I, count of I, how many possibilities will be there in this category? So for left subtree, there are these many possibilities. For right subtree, there are these many possibilities. So the basic rule of product in combinatorics, that's combinatorics is anyways there on your Renaissance dashboard. You should learn it whenever you find time. So total number of different possibilities will be count of I into count of this thing, right? And that has what has happened over here. So if let's say you talk about first category corresponds to 0 nodes in left, and for 0 nodes in left there is one possibility. For 2 nodes in right there are 2 possibilities. So 1 into 2 is 2. That is the reason you got 2 solutions over here. Similarly, when you focus on this case corresponded to 1 node in left and 1 node in right. So for 1 node in left there is one possibility. For 1 node in right there is one possibility. 1 into 1 is 1. So you got only one solution. And same thing here. For 2 nodes, there are 2 possibilities, and for 0 nodes, there is 1 possibility. 2 into 1 is 2. So if I know the count of nodes that are there for 0, 1, 2 till n minus 1, then I come up with count of nodes for n also, just by looking at them. Okay, does that point make sense to all? Yes or no? Right? Okay, cool. So will this idea somehow help me? Yes or no? So this will definitely help me, and let me create all the possible trees. So if you consider the case of n equals to 4, how many categories will be there for n equals to 4? Can you guess those? There will be 4 categories. Of course, because your categorization is being done by assuming the number of nodes in your left subtree. So the number of nodes in your left subtree can either be 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. And for every choice of count of nodes in left subtree, you will get a corresponding count of nodes in right subtree also. Okay, so that is what you will be doing over here. So let us focus on any one particular category. So let's say when you are choosing to have this as your root, and then you are choosing to have a category where there are 1 node over here, and then there are 2 nodes over here. So if you're going away with this, can you tell me how many trees will belong to this category, where you have a root and you have 1 node in left and 2 nodes in right? Yeah. Yeah, there'll be 2 categories only. Why? Because how many possibilities are there for 1 node? Only 1 possibility. How many possibilities are there for 2 nodes? 2 possibilities. So 1 into 2 is going to be 2. So think of it in this manner. You can either choose this as your left subtree and this as your right subtree, or you can choose this as your left subtree and this as your right subtree. Let me mark it differently. So if you go ahead with your first pair, then what you will get will look like this. Yeah. And if you go ahead with your second pair, what you will get will look like this. You're not doing anything special. In the first case, you're just putting it as left subtree and putting it as right subtree. In the second case, you're putting this as left and putting this as right. All of them are different. Does that make sense to everyone? Like how things are being done? So just think of it in this manner. What you have to do is, if let's say you know the list for I, so this list contains the roots of all the trees that have I nodes. Okay, and let's say another list contains the roots of all trees that have got n minus I minus 1 nodes. So let's say here the roots are R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5. And here you have got R1 dash, R2 dash, R3 dash. So guys, it simply means that you are trying to create a particular category for n nodes. And in that category, you have got I nodes in left and these many nodes in right. So how many possibilities will be there in that category if you look at these vectors? So I can say for I, there are 5 possibilities. For this, there are 3 possibilities. So 5 into 3, 15. There will be 15 possibilities. So can you one by one create all the possible trees that abide by this category? Can you do that? The answer is very easy. All that you will have to do is you will have to write a nested for loop to consider all the possible pairs. Okay. So first you will pair this with this. When I say pair this with this, I mean R1 will be your left subtree and R1 dash will be your right subtree. Then you can pair this with this. Then you can pair this with this. Then you can start pairing this with this. Then pair this with this. Then pair this with this, and so on and on. So can you assume how to write a piece of code to get it done? So there'll be nested for loops. First for loop will be iterating on first vector, and second for loop will be iterating on second vector. So let's say while iterating on first vector, you are picking item I, and here you are picking item j. So item I can be your left and item j can be your right. Okay, that is what you can do. Okay, now we have clearly realized that I and n minus I minus 1, these values will be smaller than the actual n. So in order to create the trees, what I have to do is I have to first solve for these smaller values. So recursion is something which will be very helpful over here. So if you are, let's say, planning to create all the possibilities for some value of n. Okay, now what you will have to do is you will have to consider all the different possibilities. So first possibility will be that where you are getting answers for n equals to 0 and answers for n minus 1. Second category will be that where left subtree has one node, right subtree has n minus 2 nodes. So on and on and on. The last category will be that where left subtree has n minus 1 nodes and right subtree has 0 nodes. So it will be like from a particular function, you are making multiple calls. And now again, these calls will be making multiple calls. And all those calls will correspond to different categories. Okay. And from there, you will be getting the results. And by getting those results, you will be combining them and creating the result for actual n. Do you understand it? Can you imagine how the code could look like? Just type in yes or no, if you can do that. Yeah, a very good use of recursion would be needed. So those of you who have gone through it well, you should be able to figure that out. Okay. Can somebody suggest me the termination condition over here? When do I terminate? Yeah. So one of you is saying terminate when you are solving for n equals to 1 or n equals to 0. Do others agree with that? Yes or no? Yeah. So you are on the right track. But what I would say is that when your I is equals to 0, then if you terminate, then all the other cases will be taken care of. So if you are terminating at I equals to 0, no need to terminate at I equals to 1. So those of you who are still finding it hard how to write the program or something because you have not done a good job in recursion, then you need to just look at the whiteboard and understand. And I'm telling it again, this is a very frequently asked interview question in binary trees. So please solve it howsoever possible. Okay, so let's say you are writing a function f which given a value of n will return you a vector containing all the structurally different binary trees containing 4 nodes. Okay, where n is 4, for example. So let's say you have called f of 4. Now, how many categories are there? Yeah, how many categories will be there when your n is equals to 4? There will be 4 categories. Okay, corresponding to the first category, you need to first know how many trees are possible with 0 nodes. Okay, and how many trees are possible with 3 nodes, right? Because if you get result from here and if you get result from here, then only you will be able to create for this category. So this has got to return you a vector and this has got to return you another vector. Using those, you will be creating one category of f of 4. Do you understand what I mean when I say something like this? Let's type in yes or no. Right? Okay, so what should I return from f of 0? F of 0 means how many trees are possible having 0 nodes. There is only one tree which is possible with 0 nodes, and that is an empty tree. So what I can do is I can return from here a vector containing null inside. Right? Cool. At f of 3, what should I do? How many categories will be there over here at f of 3? So there'll be 3 categories again. Okay. So I'll be making calls to all those 3 different categories. So the first category will be where I have got 0 nodes in the left and 2 nodes in the right. Next category will be where I have got 1 node in the left, 1 node in the right. And final category will be where I have got 2 nodes in the left and 0 node in the right. So look, what is happening is that you are making a pair of calls. In fact, if this value is let's say P, then you are making P pair of calls, and your first call is for 0, then this call automatically happens for the remaining value. Next call is for 1, and then the final call is for P minus 1. So that's how things happen. Again, from here, what will you return? You will return the same thing, a vector containing null inside. Okay, what to do from here? From f of 2, how many categories will be there? Again, there will be 2 categories from f of 2. So you'll be making those calls from f of 2. So the first category will be that where there are 0 nodes in left and 1 node in right. And second category will be that where there are 1 nodes in left and 0 nodes in right. Now again, from this 0, you will return an empty vector, null. And from this f of 1, what you will do? At f of 1, how many categories will be there? Can somebody think and tell me? There will be only one category, right? Where there are 0 nodes in left and 0 nodes in right. So there is only one pair of call that you're going to make. So this is what you will do for f of 0, f of 0. Now, as we know, at f of 0, it's our termination condition. We just return a vector of size 1 containing null inside it. So I'll do that. Now look, this f of 1 is the first call which has received all its responses. So it's like it has a vector containing null to represent left subtrees, and it has another vector also containing null to represent right subtrees. So there is only one pair that is possible. So using that one pair, it will attach null to its left, null to its right, and this is exactly what it will get. Okay, so what will it return? It will return a vector containing this root R1. So it will return something like this. Okay. Similarly, you can realize that whatever this f of 1 has returned, the same thing this f of 1 will also return, because you can see that there are a lot of repetitions here. F of 2 is being called here again, f of 1 is being called here again, because it's a flat recursion. There will be a lot of repetitions that will be happening. Cool. So again, from this f of 1, you will return the same thing, R1, and from this f of 0, you will return null. Okay. And now again, when you come back to this f of 2, you can say that, hey, for this category, I have got my responses. And for this category also, I have got my responses. Let's focus on this category. For this category, the vector for the left just contains null. And in this category, the vector for the right contains R1. So there is only one pair. That pair will be null comma this. So my left will be null and right will be R1. And now let's focus on this particular category. Here, my right will be R1 and left will be null. So I'll attach R1 over here and nothing over here. So I got the two possibilities for f equals to 2. And let's say these roots are R and R dash. So you'll return a vector that will be containing R and R dash. So this is how values keep on flowing. So now you'll realize that f of 4 here would have received all the possibilities for f of 0, all the possibilities for f of 3. Using that, it would have created the first category. And similarly for next category, it would have made next call and so on and on. Does this give you a picture of how the code might look like? Just type in yes or no. Right? So we don't have to do anything special now. We just have to write a code which, given n, what it does is it makes n pair of calls. Okay, it makes n pair of calls. So we know that the possibilities for the count of nodes in left subtree, if I denotes the count of nodes in left subtree, then I can go from 0 to n minus 1, right? So when you're talking about I nodes in your left subtree, automatically you will be expecting n minus I minus 1 nodes in right subtree. That is what happens. If this value is I, this value is 3 minus I minus 1. Okay, so you will make a function call for I and get a particular vector v1, and you will make a function call n minus I minus 1 and get another vector v2. After you have gotten v1 and v2, then it's like you have got two vectors containing values inside it. So if this is something like this and this is something like this, now you have to write a nested for loop to iterate on vector 1 and vector 2. So it will look like for j equals to 0 till v1 dot size j plus plus, and inside it for k equals to 0, k smaller than v2 size, and k plus plus. Now, when you come inside over here, then it's like you are considering a particular pair as your left and as your right. So using them as your left and right, you can create a new root and a new tree and push that to your new vector that you are creating for I equals to n. Can you try coding it now, guys, everyone? So my return type, as I have already said, will be a vector of nodes. So it will be vector of node star. Let's call it all possible VT, and it takes n and returns you the desired vector. Okay. So the first condition will be for n equals to 0. So if n is 0, that means I need to create a vector node star answer, and this vector should only contain null inside it. So I'll do answer dot pushback of null, and then I'll just return this answer. So this is my simple termination condition. How many of you were able to write this on your own? At least just type in yes or no. This or similar thing. Okay, good. Now what will be the next thing that you will do? So now I need to do this much of job. But before doing this much of job, what I'll do is I'll create an answer vector, which will initially be empty. And now whenever I'm creating a particular tree containing n nodes in it, I'll push that, right? Because I have to return the vector for the past n. If n was 0, you simply return it from here. If it is not 0, you just initialize your empty vector over here and just keep populating it as and when applicable. So you will create a vector of node star answer. Okay. And now, as I said, there will be n function calls that you will be making, n pair of calls, I smaller than n, I plus plus. Now, so when you are considering I nodes in your left, you need to make a call to all possible VT I. From here, you will get a vector of nodes. Let's call it LSTs. LSTs means left subtrees. So this vector, the value returned from this vector represents the possibilities for your left subtrees. Similarly, vector node star RSTs, which are your right subtrees, you'll get it by making this call n minus I minus 1. Okay, cool. What will be the next step? What will be the next step after it? I have to consider all the pairs of results like R1R, then R1R dash. For that, I need to write a nested for loop, right? So when I'm trying to write nested for loop, I'll say j equals to 0, j is smaller than LSTs dot size, and j plus plus. Okay. And now inside it, what will you do? You'll say for k equals to 0, k is smaller than RSTs dot size, k plus plus. So k is a pointer to some right subtree and j is a pointer to some left subtree. Now what I can say is that, hey, at this instant of time, I can very quickly create a particular tree containing n nodes and that belong to this category. So all that I'll have to do is I'm considering LSTs j. So I'll create a new node and I'll attach its left to LSTs j and I'll attach its right to RSTs k. And now if let's say this is R, I'll push this R in my answer. This is all that I have to do at this point of time. Does that make sense? Just type in yes or no. So can everyone do that? It must not be a hard thing for you guys to do. So you can just say that, okay, let us create this thing. So if you want to create this thing, you would call new node. And you call new node, the root of that is going to contain 0. And the left subtree of that, as I said, will be LSTs of j. and right subtree of that will be RSTs of K. Okay, and then you will just push it. So you'll do answer dot push back of this thing. Cool. So now when your this big logic is over, which started right from here and ended here, then your answer must have got populated with all the structurally different trees for n. So now you can just return your answer vector. This is the basic idea here.